And welcome back to the show. Bottom Line is a not-for-profit organization that is striving to eradicate income gaps in the degree attainment rates to elevate racial equity as well as economic mobility for students of color. Now, their trained advisors deliver intensive one-on-one advising and support from college applications all the way up until college graduation. We're pleased to have joining us the managing director of the program at Bottom Line. We've got Victoria Coker. And Victoria, glad to have you with us. And as I think about it, I think about being able to graduate from college. And for some, it just seems to be something that's, pretty easy to go by. And then for others, it's not so hard, but you do a good job of really bridging the gap there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thanks very much for having me. Happy to be engaged with you all today. So we support primarily first generation college going students, students coming from low income backgrounds and color. And so you can imagine the barriers that these students are facing when they're applying to and persisting through college look very different than perhaps their wealthier peers. And so, really, what our advisors do is normalize some of the adversity our students are facing and really act as a thought partner, a coach, a guide, a teacher to help them really overcome any obstacle that might be in their path, whether it be related to the degree itself, right? Academics or career planning and thinking about what they want to do with the degree, or financial aid, or just kind of general life, right? Time management, roommate issues, grappling with more basic need challenges like food or income insecurity, things like that. So, really a holistic advising model. And so, every student's journey is unique, though we know having a partner for anyone along that journey is always impactful.
And so some of the work that you do really is trying to deal with mostly college access too, right? Making sure that students have access. Talk to me about college access and some of the things that you're engaged in.
Yeah, so we have two programs, the first of which is our college access program. So this year in New York, we're serving about 400 students coming from across the five boroughs. And these students are coming to us right before their senior year of high school. So they know they're interested in going to college. They know this is a dream that they're wanting to pursue, but they're not really sure how to get from point A to point B. They might not have a parent or a sibling or a guardian or has been through the process before. So a lot of what our advisors do is help guide them, right? So we have a very intensive advising model. So our caseloads of advisors to students are about 65 to 1. In comparison, in a New York City public high school, that ratio is nearly 500 to 1. So you can imagine the amount of time we're able to spend with those students is much more significant than they might be receiving at school. So we help them craft a college list. We help them think about, what do I want to do? What kind of majors am I interested in? Do I want to stay at home? Do I want to go away and dorm? Making sure that list is balanced in terms of schools that they're likely to get into, schools that are a little bit more of a reach for them, schools they're really excited about, and all grounded within a lens in affordability. So, all schools that are going to be a strong economic option for them and their families. So we help students through the whole process, right? Writing their essays, doing the applications, both financial aid and also college applications, and then ultimately help those students make an informed college decision. So a college that's going to be a good academic fit for them, that's going to be a good kind of social match, and then also again is affordable for them, as we know that affordability piece is such a key component as it relates to college persistence.
I know that, a lot of students right now are really on the recovery side because we're, coming out of, still in, dealing with the whole COVID crisis. And COVID definitely handicapped a lot of people particularly in the education field. Talk to me about this because when you look at the work that you're doing right now, that COVID learning gap and things like
Mhm.
that, give me your take.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly remains a challenge for a lot of students, right? Especially those who had multiple years of virtual learning, right? Not gaining that same level of academic skill and readiness that they might have if they were in the classroom every single day. And so we certainly see this with our students, right? And I think it boils down to the ability of helping students make that really smart match of a college, right? Um, GPAs are even heightened in the application process now, as many schools have moved to a test optional approach. So GPAs matter more than ever, right? And so the impact that that has on a student's ability to get into a school and then ultimately their persistence on that campus. And so advisors take all of this into account when they're helping to build a list for a student and when they're really thinking about what is the right college, where are they going to be academically successful, what schools might require remedial coursework that might impact their ability to sustain their financial aid over the long term. How are they in an environment that's both supportive and sets them up for success? So it really comes down to that academic fit component, acknowledging that the readiness of students just looks different than it has in years before, and wanting to make sure students are making a choice for college that is really going to help them persist over the long term. And that's where our success program comes in too, right? We're not just getting students through the door. We're not just saying, okay, you have been accepted to college, our work is done. We realize there are significant barriers that students are facing when they go to college. And so we're continuing to work with them every step of the way. So if they are encountering some of those academic challenges when they're on campus or adjusting to the different expectations that come with college level work, that we're helping them access the resources both within their campus and the
Honestly, if you're not doing the academic piece right, there is a financial
yes.
consequence that actually comes with that, right? And I think so many times we don't understand that there's an even more of a financial burden because if I'm in school longer, guess what? I'm paying more and I'm not getting that scholarship. So I'm definitely paying more at the end. And that becomes something that you got to pay back, which leads to debt, which leads to really being able to recover. And I know that you really spend some time trying to navigate some college students to not have to go through that and really to be able to say, listen, you know what, there is a better way, and this could possibly even save you some dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, affordability is really a key component of how we think about college matching for our students and sustainability. So when we talk with our college access students, affordability is at the center of the discussion. We make sure that they have affordable college options on their list, right? And not just schools that are going to be accessible financially for their first year. As we know, academic financial aid packages can change as a student progresses, either to your point around kind of failure to maintain satisfactory academic progress, or just because schools entice them in with a really strong first year package and then they cut some of that aid moving forward. We have tons of data around this, right? We've advised thousands of students in New York. We have catalogs of financial aid award letters and what they look like from various schools and whether that's going to be a sustainable option for a student and their family. And so we always have those conversations. What does this mean in terms of how much debt you're going to come out with? What career path are you interested in? Can you afford to have this level of debt? How does financial just like impact persistence more generally? And so we always have these conversations with students around affordability, even when they're difficult, right? Even when a dream school seems academically within reach, but financially out of reach, which are the hardest conversations to have. But finances are one of the leading causes that students don't persist. And I think one of the worst case scenarios is a student who stops out and still has debt, right? They have no degree, but they still have mounting debt that they're required to pay back. And so we do everything in our power in our advisement to prevent that. To give you a sense, our average debt at graduation within the organization is under $20,000. So we only advise students to take, federal loans, which are kind of the most secure loans, right, and avoid some of the private debt that can get folks into what feels kind of like a burden that they aren't going to be able to sustain once they've graduated in terms of payment schedules. And so we continue to believe that affordability has to be at the front of these conversations if we're really truly setting students up to be successful.
When you talk about setting students up, obviously having the conversation with them is the first part, really getting them the buy-in. And to get that buy-in, sometimes we talked about COVID. You have to have that virtual environment, but there's a difference between the virtual and also being able to see somebody face to face and having that conversation with them. Talk to me about this a little bit, because having those face to face interactions, what does that mean in the life of a student, and what kind of hope and energy does that give, as opposed to possibly that virtual component where we're just, hey, communicating like this? Because I know there is some value to being able to see somebody face up.
Yeah, exactly. There is value to that, right? And so pre-pandemic, our services and our programs were entirely in person. So our access students would come to our office, which is actually located in downtown Brooklyn, and we would deliver services on the campus where our college students were enrolled. Pandemic hit overnight. We had transitioned all of our programs to a virtual environment for nearly 3 years, right? And this is the first year we're really embracing this hybrid atmosphere, right? I think, as all of us are doing, we both understand the critical components that come with in-person services and want to maintain the flexibility that comes with some of those virtual services as well. And so our program has both, right? We believe that relationships are at the core of our model, and we believe relationships are best built in person. So some of our students have all of their services delivered in person if that's their preference, while other students, we ground them and said, we want to have 1, 2, 3 services each semester in person, while the rest can be virtual depending on your schedule, depending on your advisor schedule, accessibility to campus or the office, conflicting engagements, whether it be work or extracurriculars, familial responsibilities, things like that. And so we're both maintaining what we believe is the most impactful piece of the in-person model, which is the relationship building, while also infusing the flexibility that comes with virtual programming.
Yeah. And so as you're looking right now, talk about something going on throughout the course of this year and what people could pretty much tap into.
Yeah, so it's an exciting year, bottom line. So here in our New York office, again, we have about 400 students in our access program, and about 1,850 students in our college program, and a couple exciting initiatives happening too. So in our high school program, we're also piloting services in schools for the first time. So we have advisors who are in high schools themselves delivering services where the students physically are every single day. And then within our success work, we're continuing to kind of iterate over our hybrid model and really think about how students are most engaging with our work, infusing career services into the model so that students not only are graduating, but have readiness for a career, right? They have a professional network, they have professional capital, a resume with internship and part-time job experience on it. So really making sure that they're positioned to land in a strong first destination after they graduate. We also, as an organization, received a really impactful $15 million gift last year from Mackenzie Scott. And so, in the process of thinking through what the best use of those funds are, so both our national office and each of our regional offices are currently undergoing a strategic planning process. So, thinking about what does growth look like within each region. So, here in New York, we're serving about 2,350 students this year. How many can we serve, right? What is the appetite and the landscape available in New York City in terms of growth? And then what's the fundraising piece of that, right? How are we engaging foundations, individual givers, corporate partners to raise the funds necessary? Because, of course, we never charge a student or their families for our services. So lots of growth and exciting things on the horizon. Our applications are also open for both programs. So we're looking for students to serve in the upcoming academic year for both our high school access program. So, students who are currently in their junior year of high school and are interested in receiving intensive supports throughout their college application process. And also, students who will be matriculating to college in the next year and are looking for support services once they're enrolled and on campus to make sure that they're staying on track for graduation. So, I'd encourage interested folks to visit our website, bottomline.org, as a way to find out your eligibility for the program and if it might be a good fit for you, as we're actively seeking new applicants.
When we talk about college graduation, that's the goal of everybody, right? To see students go across that finish line. What are you seeing by way of college graduation rates with the work that you're doing? Do you find that by entering into a student's life, having that kind of communication, having those interviews, and not just the interviews, but also the counseling and the supportive services, are we finding that this is helping to transcend into better college graduation rates?
Yeah, great question. And in the nonprofit space, a lot of what folks are doing, right, is under the assumption that their services are beneficial to their communities and that it's impacting the students or the population served. Here at Bottom Line, we had a unique opportunity a couple years ago to engage in a randomized controlled trial, which is essentially the gold standard for figuring out if a nonprofit program works. And so the The results are it does, right? So bottom line, not only bottom line students are more likely to enroll at a 4-year institution over a 2-year institution. They're also more likely to graduate within 4 years, graduate within 5 years. So we know that the program is working, right? We know that students are more likely to attain a bachelor's degree, which we believe is the best engine of economic mobility for themselves and their families. We're doing it at a faster pace, right? Which means that, to your point earlier, they're accumulating less in debt, and they're graduating in ability to land a strong job, and to on average our students double their income in their first job out of college when they were entering the program. So there's also that economic impact, to them and their families as well.
Mhm. So for yourself, doing the work, meeting these students, having the opportunity to be a part of their lives, talk to me about what it's like for you, what you've been able to see, and what you're hoping that the work will be able to continue as a takeaway.
Yeah. Our students are amazing, right? And they never cease to amaze me every single day. I don't have as many opportunities to interact, with them face to face every day as I did when I was an advisor. I started with the organization back in 2011, which was only our second year open, or rather 2012, our second year open in the New York City area. And I worked with students directly. So both our high school students and our college students, and really seeing their journeys, right? And how amazing and persistent, and just like everything that they were doing to overcome the obstacles in their path and really be successful, was really empowering and really inspirational, right? And the ability to be part of that journey, even slightly, is of course, really impactful for our staff as well. And so it's an exciting journey to be a part of. I continue, of course, to try and have as many opportunities to engage with our students as I can, and really keep not only delivering program that's in service of them, but lifting up their voices to make sure that they're being heard in our programming, that we're making decisions that are in the best interest of our students, that have their voices centered. We have a student advisory board here in our New York office where we bounce ideas off of them, kind of hear their feedback on the programs, what's working, what's not, as a way to continue to iterate, and make sure that they are ultimately finding bottom line, as impactful in their either college application journey or in their journey through college.
Uh, well, Victoria, we got to leave it there, but I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing and how you continue to impact the community. It's been a pleasure having a conversation with you and learning more about the organization. Thanks for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a treat.
All righty. Well, we thank Victoria for being with us. And listen, we want you to stay connected. We've got more here on the Social Justice Forum. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a few.